to use our leftover cardboard. So we are going to use the scraps to build a waterfall using scraps of cardboard, tissue paper, paint, artificial plants, and glue. I start by finding a large piece of leftover cardboard. This is a partially cut trifold that I have, and I am going to use it as the base of my scene. So I cut it in half, take one of the pieces, and cut the sides to make them jagged. And I did this to the sides and top and left the bottom straight. Glue it onto the other piece of cardboard, cut more cardboard, layer and glue them onto the base. And I like to do a lot of my cutting before I glue it into place, so I can plan the layout. My waterfall is going to come down here, so I made a large textured wall on one side and a smaller one on the other. The water will flow into a small pool that I surrounded with small pieces of cut cardboard. Then I added more cardboard for a rocky terrain. And for the top, I'm going to attach a longer piece of cardboard where I stacked layers of cardboard on the sides and I glue it on top. Now I'm ready to add the tissue paper. First, I brush on a layer of school glue. Tear pieces of tissue paper, place it over the glue while it's still wet, brush over it using the paper to fill in the gaps. Continue. To cover it with the tissue paper and glue. And I just want to make sure that all of the little nooks and crannies are covered so that it looks like rock when it's all done. And the tissue paper gives us a lot of good wrinkles. We want a lot of texture here so that it looks natural. Using small pieces of tissue paper really does help to get around all of the cuts in the cardboard while keeping a lot of the layers. And I like to move around the project. After spending a little time on one area, I'll move to another so that layer has time to dry and I don't end up removing the tissue paper that I just added. After it has been completely covered, allow it to dry. To make slime, I am using a plastic bowl, clear glue, a plastic cup, borax, water, and a spoon. In a plastic cup, I combine 1 cup of water and 1 tablespoon of borax. And remember to always have adult supervision when working with chemicals. Stir until the borax has been dissolved. In a bowl, pour in the glue, add 1/4 teaspoon of the borax mixture, and gently stir. I add another 1/4 teaspoon and continue to stir. And it is starting to thicken. It's still pretty liquidy, so I'm going to add another 1/4 teaspoon of borax. So this makes 3/4 teaspoon. Continue to stir, and we're not there yet. I add another 1/4 teaspoon, so now we are at 1 full teaspoon. Stir. This looks very good. It's really slimy, and you might want to stop here if you want your slime to be pretty fluid. However, for what I'm using it for, I need it to be just a little bit thicker. So I'm adding 1/8 teaspoon to the mixture, making a total of 1 1/8 teaspoons. Stir. I'm adding another 1/8. So I think that 1 1/4 teaspoon is perfect. Nope, we still need a little more. This is another 1/4 teaspoon, making it 1 1/2 teaspoons now. So I think when it starts to stick to itself and comes easily off the bowl, I think that's when we're good. Then begin kneading it. It's a beautiful night. It was still pretty sticky, so I added another 1/4 of a teaspoon, bringing us to a grand total of 1 3/4 teaspoons. Now, that amount will change depending on how much glue you add and how much glue you're able to get out of the bottle. But that's just my general measurement because I plan on making a whole lot more. It has a nice stretch. It can hold its shape, well, for a little while anyway. And it's still a little tacky, but not too much. So I store it in a ziploc bag and repeat to make more. After making all of our slime, we just let it sit, and it's supposed to turn more clear. Now that the paper mache is dry, it's time to paint. Using acrylic paint, I begin to paint right over the paper mache rocks. And I already know that this is going to take more than one coat, so I'm starting with a light brown. Then I add different shades of brown, brushing darker colors into the corners, then working to blend them so they look like stone. And the area for the water, I paint that a little darker. I want it to appear like the stones have a richer color because they are wet. Now let's add a little shine. Using a clear drying varnish, brush a generous coat over the area and allow it to dry. To bring out more texture in the rocks, I dry brush using different shades of brown. To dry brush, I add a little paint to my brush and then I swirl it around on my paint palette to remove most of it. When the brush is almost dry, I brush over the rocks and the paint collects on the texture, and it just helps to highlight all of the detail. As I'm looking at my waterfall, I notice that the varnish bled through to some of the tissue paper underneath, and it's made it a little more red than I like. So I paint over it with brown. Then for the shine, I am going to use our favorite gloss Mod Podge. Apply a generous coat and allow it to dry. Using a dark brown paint, paint veins or cracks in the rocks. I paint one going that way and then maybe it kind of branches off over here. I go back with a lighter brown and add a little highlight and a tiny touch of black for a little depth. And this just adds more texture to look like there are cracks in the rocks. We are still waiting for all of the glue to dry. It is dry enough to touch, it just hasn't all gone clear yet. However, the basic structure for our waterfall is now complete. And with this playset, we could pretend that our dolls are on another planet,
live long and prosper,
mermaids hanging out at the moon pool, or a cave full of secrets. But we're going to make it a slime waterfall. And I want to add some plants. However, I don't want the slime to get on the plants. So I am going to cut and glue them to the sides. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And we still have all of this space in the center for our slime. And we use the Mod Podge for a plastic coating to protect the cardboard. And after a small test run, I decided to go over the water areas with a clear nail polish. After a while, the Mod Podge became a little tacky, so I'm hoping that the nail polish will create a strong enamel. And now it's time to add the slime. Our slime has been sitting for a little less than a day, and that's not enough time for it to go completely clear. However, if you look at a real waterfall, often the water appears to be white because it's flowing and it has a lot of bubbles. So we are going to go ahead and add our slime. I start by filling the pool with a layer of slime, And the nail polish has created a barrier between the slime and the cardboard. Squishy. Above the pool, we created a top ledge, which is about 2.5 inches wide. I take a large amount of slime, place it on the top ledge, allowing some of it to hang over. As it flows down, I can see all of the little clumps in my slime, so I probably need to do a little bit more kneading. But it is still a lot of fun to just watch. So we can set the dolls up like they're having a picnic by the waterfall and then just watch the water. Or, slime. And when playtime is over, I make sure to store the slime in an airtight container. Yeah, I could probably sit here for a very long time just watching this. It is so interesting to watch. Then to restart the waterfall, you just have to gather up the slime again and put more back at the top. And watch it flow all over again.
Here is the thing I knew right from the start. It's like a dream when we both get together and free. Yeah, my mind is screaming now whenever we dream.
And you're done.
Happy crafting!
I knew right from the start that you are the best part of my red heart. You are the best part. It's like a dream when we both get together and free. Yeah, my mind is screaming.
We want to give a shout out to Steven Universe. What's up?
Sophie, I love how you want to get outside and take a walk in nature, but I think we're lost.
We're not lost. I used to be a junior Foggy Scout. Remember?
Yes, but it was only for like 2 days.
Relax. I learned everything there is to know about surviving in nature. Number 1, find a reliable water source. Oh, look, over there. See? I found a waterfall.
Sophie, I don't think that's water.
It's a waterfall. Of course it's water.
Yeah, but water's not supposed to do that.
'Cause all I really need is me. If I could just share my